Okay, wow, I really expected a lot of you to go home. This is later in the afternoon, so this is unexpected. But they're going to be taking this podium off. But I'm grateful to be here with all of you and inspired by all of you. And ultimately, I kind of want to end this whole conference. Wow, that was quick, guys. Well done. Let's give it up for the tech crew. Awesome. And before we go any further, I actually really do want to make sure that we recognize all the intense work that goes into putting this on. Vana, the board of UCAB, putting this on. Can we give them a round of applause, please? Yes. I don't know where Vana is or everybody else, but no, I'm honored to be here. How many of you, in fact, I want you to stand up. If you, at this conference, in this time that you've been here from the morning, if you have felt inspired at all, you just stand up if that's been you. Stand up if you have, wow, well, that may be all of you. And over, okay, but I want, if you haven't stood up yet, stand up if you've learned something new that you didn't know already. Stand up if you have felt hope that you didn't maybe expect. I think we're all standing up. That is awesome. So thank you. You can sit down now. That is just exciting to kind of see just the results of all of the efforts of this conference and the experts that have come in, flown in from various parts of the country to share their expertise with you. And I think that we're all better for it. Would you agree? Yeah, me too. Now, this topic, we just came out, this is the subject of this topic, the subject of this conference, the theme is about hope, right? The hope effect. And sometimes when we think about this subject, for some of us, it's been hard to find that hope. It's kind of a heavy topic, a challenging topic. And if you can see my slides here, if we can get those up on the screen. There we go. So this can be a heavy topic. This can be challenging when we think about our own, struggle with this. Perhaps some of you are in that camp. If we think about the struggle of those we love, if we think about, the challenge that our society faces, sometimes we can just feel dark about it all. And we just heard a whole lot of reasons from Don to kind of have a different outlook. A whole lot of reasons to kind of think, you know what? There is light. And I ultimately want to talk to you about mostly that today. Yes, it's true that this content is more aggressive, more harmful, more prevalent, more available than any other time in the history of the world. I say that all the time when I present. We are dealing with this as a society to an intensity and scale that no other generation in the history of the world has ever had to. That's kind of interesting. Ivana, last night at dinner, said something that I really liked. She said, it's been just over 20 years since the internet entered our homes. And at that time, it was all innocent and fun, and technology was just kind of like, we were kind of getting the hang of it. And since that time, look at what has happened. Both for good, for sure, and also some negative consequences to that advancement, right? 20 years, a pinprick, historically speaking. So much has occurred. And the momentum is starting to shift, starting to change. And that's exciting because this content, it has changed a lot of attitudes. When we think about this from a global perspective, it's changed attitudes thinking that this content is fine, it's normal, it's no big deal, get with the times, it's healthy. And that's changed our world, right? And we know from research from a variety of different neuroscientists, Bill Struthers was here speaking today, that this content, as we consume it, we know this, that individuals oftentimes need more of it more often, a more hardcore version. So this cycle will continue, but you are here as a manifestation that this cycle doesn't need to continue, that we can actually change that. And it starts with our education. It starts with us kind of recognizing what this is and what this can do, understanding how we can then help, not only change our own attitudes and perceptions, but those around us, open our mouths, which is changing communities across the globe. This isn't an idea. This isn't a theory. Like, wouldn't it be cool? It's happening, and you're a part of that. And that's pretty inspiring. It's pretty awesome. Now, ultimately, I want to talk to you guys about a generation's fight for love. Because there are a lot of people fighting for love today. And I get to rub shoulders with them every day. And it's kind of awesome. I have a great job in that I get to kind of interact with individuals that are trying to change the world and fight for love. And I want to tell you about them. But before I do that, I want to tell you my own story because I think it led me to their stories. And it starts back in a rainy, stormy night in 1982. My mother, no, just kidding. So fast forward way over to high school. Okay, so my senior year, this is a tradition that we do during homecoming week. We bring in an old beat-up car during homecoming week, and we'd pull it into the field behind the school where we played football, and we'd spray paint it the colors of the opposing school. Anyone do that? They spray paint it, and then you'd like take a baseball bat, and then like take turns swinging. Did anyone do that? Anybody? Okay, a few of us. Awesome. I'm not too crazy. Yeah, I would practice on my mom's car. It was great. No. So we would do this. We'd take this car in, and we'd spray paint it. And this was my senior year, so this one was a little different. This one meant a little bit more to me because it was my last. I was about to enter into the world. I was about to take on the world. And for some reason, it even clicked for me in that moment that this kind of meant something symbolically for me. And I wanted to make a dent that mattered. And so I got in line, just like all the other students. I got in line to take my swing at this beat-up car. And the guy that was right in front of me, he was a big guy. He was 300 pounds, center for the football team. We called him Tiny, lovingly. But he took the bat, and he came up to that car and swung, and it just like thunder, okay? Like we all felt it. We're like, holy cow, Tiny, wow. And I wanted to make a dent just like Tiny's. I wanted to do something that mattered in that moment. And I was not at the time the mountain of muscle you see before you. I was actually quite small. And so I swung with everything I had. I just swung with everything I had. And I don't really remember what happened after that. It's kind of fuzzy. I think they carried me off on their shoulders chanting my name. But the point here is that it mattered to me. I wanted to make a dent. Now, how many of you have ever felt kind of that in your own life? Like you wanted to do something that mattered and help people or change the world in any way, your community? Anyone ever felt like that? Felt that way? Yeah. Well, that was totally me. And I found out later that we together, we're absolutely not alone. If you see the screen, if you look at the slides up on the screen, studies are showing that millennials and younger are more motivated by cultural and social change than they are money. That's a cool characteristic, right? It's a cool thing for a generation to kind of have this desire to do good and want to do good. And I was fortunate enough to kind of meet a lot of these people when I graduated high school and got into college. I got to interact with others that had that same passion, that same desire. And I remember watching a film in college. I remember seeing a film called Amazing Grace. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was a movie that I had seen, and I was just, I'd never done this before, but as the movie was playing, there was all these quotes. I mean, this is a film about William Wilberforce and his efforts to abolish the slave trade in England. And he was up against incredible odds. And I remember I was sitting there, and a quote came up by William Wilberforce, and it was, that we are too young to realize that certain things are impossible. And that hit me because I had all sorts of naivety. I loved it. I was like, I've always said that naivety is one of my strongest suits because it drives me to do things that others would just not do. But this is a guy that kind of embodied that. And I wrote that down. I got up out of my seat and I went down and I wrote that quote down. And my friends and I kind of had that same desire. And so many others in this audience have kind of felt that same interest. And ultimately, we decided to kind of put that toward an effort. And we were kind of wanting to do something that made a difference. And because of personal experiences in my own life with family members and others and myself, I was drawn to this cause. And many of us are drawn to a variety of causes. But this was kind of the cause that hit home with me. And I remember, it wasn't a very popular decision, as you can imagine. I was actually just about to get married at the time, and I told my wife just shortly after we had married that I was going to leave my company and go do a nonprofit to educate on the harmful effects of pornography. And she's like, really? Are you sure about that? She's been, she came around and she's been a huge support ever since. But we started something that we thought was just going to, be something kind of small. And I want to show you this kind of, this video just to kind of start the process of understanding our story as we start to explore some of your stories. Check this out.
This all started when we met in college. Just a few guys sharing a simple desire to one day make an impact on the world. In many of our discussions together, it quickly became apparent that we'd all been affected in one way or another by one thing: pornography. Either in our own lives or in the lives of our friends, family members, or just people we knew. We were surprised, actually, by the amount of differing opinions on the issue. And we knew that this was a subject that most people just didn't want to talk about. I mean, when was the last time you had a nice dinner conversation about the good old topic of porn? Yeah, just doesn't happen, right? So we started looking into the subject and found science and research proving its harm. And we realized that there was a legitimate epidemic growing in our society. We knew it had to start somewhere. A year later, armed with nothing but passion and an idea, we started building our movement like anybody would, by launching a Facebook page.
Yeah.
Thus began our grassroots campaign to raise awareness on the harmful effects of pornography using only science, facts, and personal accounts. Backed by a tidal wave of new information, this movement has spread across the globe and back again. It has taken us places we'd never thought we'd go, and we couldn't be more stoked about it. We are artists, writers, designers, filmmakers, and storytellers who have made it our life's focus to raise awareness on the harmful effects of porn on the brain, relationships, and society as a whole. A shift in society now has people fighting for real love and shunning its hollow counterfeits. People are connecting, tuning in, and taking a stand against this harmful material and choosing to live a life of true freedom, real love, and untainted passion. Our strength lies in being bold, loving, open-minded, and genuine. We are disruptors. We are rebels. We are fighters. What started off as just a few college kids with an idea is now changing the conversation from, dude, check this out, to, dude, that's not cool. So, are you in? Join the movement and become a fighter.
So by starting this organization, we joined a larger movement, a movement that was far bigger than anything we were creating, and it involved many individuals doing a lot of good in a lot of different organizations. And we have seen that movement grow. Don, I mean, when we started about the same time. And many here represented have been doing this a lot longer than we have. And this was a different thing even 8 years ago when we started. This is such a different dialogue culturally and socially 8 years ago. And because of so many efforts from yourselves and so many of the great organizations that are represented out in the lobby area, so much has changed, and in a lot of positive ways. And a movement has begun that is shaping that dialogue. And if we can kind of get the slides back up, shaping that dialogue, and it's moving things in a positive direction. We launched a shirt, and that started to be embraced by hundreds of thousands, and a movement for love, to pursue real love and avoid its hollow counterfeits was born. And I want to share some stories that we've come across, and I could spend the next 6 hours, and I only have 4, so I'm going to just use the next 4 to tell you some of these stories. of individuals that are just like you. They don't have political, influence. They don't, to my knowledge, have financial means that would allow them to advance their cause more than anyone else in this room. They don't have a platform that necessarily provides them a huge audience. They are just individuals that are saying, you know what, I can do something. And that's what ultimately Don was talking about, that I want to kind of spend more time on. In the top, your left-hand corner, Coco Tingy is an inspiration to us. She was incredible. She was a high school student, a senior in high school, and she tried to get us to come out to her school because she saw the impact in her school in Arizona, how much pornography was impacting her school. And she said, I want to bring you guys out. Well, the school ultimately didn't allow that to happen, and she said, you know what? That's okay. So she decided she was going to organize her own event off campus, and she actually did like photo shoots and campaigned and marketed it to the surrounding schools. And on a Friday evening, she had hundreds of students from a variety of schools coming to this event. And the next morning, they did a presentation shown here where she could kind of speak. And we were able to participate in that as well. So Nicole, with her own kind of desire, decided that she was going to do something about this. Ben at Texas A&M decided, you know what, this is a problem that's happening right here on our campus, and I want to help people. I want to ultimately help individuals find relief and resources and support. And he started a club on his campus and is helping so many individuals step away and move away from those harmful impacts toward a more healthy lifestyle. Nico and Grady, these guys are awesome. They just decided they were going to put on their shirts, go to Niagara Falls because they live in that area, and they were going to just like start handing out flyers and talking to people with just smiles on their face, talking about porn. Can you imagine? Just like, hey, how you doing? You want to talk about porn? Yeah, I can't imagine. But they did it, and they did it with smiles on their face, and they were like happy, and it wasn't this finger wag, this judgmental thing. It was just this like, look, we want to help you understand some of the potential risks. And they're inspiring to us. These stories of individuals like Conchetta, I hope I'm saying that right, but she decided, she found out about the campaign and the cause, and she's like, this is so cool. I got to tell people. She works at a bar. She decided she would wear her shirt at the bar that she works at and start conversations. And she said that she had a great experience talking about, you can imagine some of those dialogues that might have occurred at the bar. But, and Darcel from Trinidad, all the way in Trinidad, she decided, you know what, she wanted to use her influence on social media. So she started writing poetry to help educate on the harmful effects of pornography. And she's done incredible work just using her own influence. Ollie, some of you might have heard of his band, Ollie K, but he's from the UK, and he decided he was going to write music to help individuals understand some of these potential risks, and using his talents and resources. Chandler decided that she had an assignment from school to do something creative to spread a message. She knew exactly which message she wanted to spread. So she organized a very creative and very strong campaign on campus that lasted a full week, and she was able to start and spark a discussion on her campus. And Derek's awesome. He decided he was going to wear his Porn Kills Love t-shirt around and even skydiving, and his instructor said, what in the world is that t-shirt? And he began to tell her. I don't think it was midair. I think they were like on the ground when they spoke. But they spoke, and then afterwards she came up and she said, I'm really grateful that you talked to me because this is something that I needed to know. And so, one by one, individual by individual, we're able to open our mouths and help individuals understand what's really going on. Garrett's story is not really that inspiring, I'll be honest. It's kind of boring. He decided he was going to run 30 marathons in 30 days, to educate people on the potential risks of pornography. I don't know. I've done it. Just kidding. I was going to cut this one out, but I guess we'll keep going. No, he ran. He's here. Garrett? Where are you? Garrett, let's give Garrett a round of applause. He's a real human. Yeah, he ran 30 marathons in 30 days, wearing handcuffs in the middle of winter. Think back to the last time you did that. Anyway, He also then didn't stop there. Of course not. This is a machine. He decided, you know what? I want to keep going. So he decided to ride his bike across the United States from Virginia to San Francisco. How long did it take you, Garrett? 56 days. No big deal. It would have taken me 56 years. But so he's an inspiration. I actually want to show you. I know that some of you saw this video during Craig's presentation if you were in attendance. But I want those of you who were not there, because there are obviously people that were not there, to watch his story. Again, just an individual using his creative, capacities to help raise awareness. Check it out.
1, 2, 3. 1, Whoa!
My name is Garrett Johnson. I'm 29 years old. I have a beautiful wife, and we have 2 kids.
What's your name, dude?
Rev.
Rev. This is Rev. How old are you?
3.
3 years old. This is Zay. Did you just turn 2, Zay Buggy? My beautiful wife.
Our 6-year anniversary is on Sunday.
6 years.
When I was 9 years old, I was with my friends. We were just our football buddies, and we were at a sleepover. That night was the first night that I saw pornography. And I didn't know then that that night would be the beginning of a challenge. As I grew and went into 13, 14, and 15, I would watch it a few times a week. It was always just something that I almost talked myself into that it wasn't that bad. I just remember thinking, when I get married, I won't use pornography anymore. And I got married at age 24. So I set these goals of like, all right, no more. And then as time went on, I would go back to it. And Ariel didn't know. I just continued to say over and over. I remember thinking, all right, this is the last time. And then I'd go through periods would be like, okay, I'm just gonna do it and just accept it, because I couldn't get over it. And from there, the whole journey of me telling the truth was when I saw Fight the New Drug. And for the first time in my life, I knew that it was an actual drug. It was a challenge for other people. It wasn't just me. I'm turning 30 this year. And it's like this milestone of like, all right, I'm done with pornography. I want to move forward. So I did 30 marathons in 30 days while wearing handcuffs. The handcuffs for me represented the addictive nature of pornography. The 30 and 30 ended. At that point, it's like, I want to do something to help other people. And so that's where I came up with Coast to Coast in Chains. And when I told my wife, immediately the first words out of her mouth were, "You have to do it," which was pretty inspiring, pretty uncommon to have a wife that says, yeah, go be unemployed for 60 days and ride your bike by yourself across America.
As I journey, I'm just having people sign the shirt and kind of carry them with me.
I started on April 7th. It took me 56 days. It was 3,800 miles. I crossed 9 states.
Lots of open road, you guys. This is Garrett Johnson on my journey coast to coast in chains. I wanted to really quickly show you the chains. The chains represent the heaviness of addiction and recovery.
With those chains dragging behind me on my bike, you can't even coast. Even if you're going downhill, you're still coming to a stop because the chains were so heavy and dragging.
Hey guys, I am near Kinsley, Kansas, riding in the middle of the night. And the main reason is because the winds during the day are ridiculous. And at nighttime, they're non-existent. So a lot more efficient for me to ride at night. Love you guys. But notice, those chains they're wearing down.
Little by little, those chains started falling off. And so that represented the journey of addiction and recovery. So I ended without any chains. So it's kind of a resemblance of what my journey has been, telling the truth and moving forward and releasing those chains. And I can't tell you how excited I was when they released.
First flat tire in 2,026 miles. So feeling pretty fortunate to only have one. You guys, when life gives you flat tires, make lemonade. I love you guys.
It took me stepping up and realizing what I wanted. Walks with my family, date night with my wife, and I don't plan on going back to it. Now I can talk about it as if it were cocaine, where pornography is not talked about. And now that everyone knows, I can be super open. And that really is empowering to me with my kids. As they grow into ages when their friends are going to be viewing pornography, be able to help them and give them my story.
Let's give it up for Garrett. Woo! Yes. Inspiring. Side note, Garrett just certified as one of our presenters and will be presenting at schools moving forward, so we're really excited to have him on our team. Now, I could go on and on telling you stories. We heard from Melissa Richardson earlier talking about her journey, and there's more to that story, but her journey to kind of have major impact with organizations like Snapchat and now influencing a new generation of leaders. We could talk about individuals, community leaders like Liz Passy and Angela Anderson that have made it their, they have made it their calling in life to kind of do something in their own communities. And we could go on, and I'm sure there are so many stories here represented today, from you that are equally as inspiring. That as we gather those up and collect them together, we can kind of really see where we're headed as a culture, as a people, as a nation, that things are shifting. Again, this tiny moment in history that we are a part of, we are a part of a historical shift where young people, as Matt Fradd said in his opening keynote, as young people are eagerly waiting to understand what they're dealing with, eagerly wanting to kind of move in a new direction, many of them. And as we use the information that we've gathered, science and research, we're able to kind of have a huge impact. Now, ultimately, I love this quote. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. I ask our staff all the time, what are we building? What is that we're building collectively, together? And ultimately, it's about fighting for something rather than against something, right? And ultimately, what we do as an organization, and I think the larger movement, we have come together to fight for real love, right? Love untainted by the counterfeit of pornography and the harmful influence that can have on real relationships. We fight for freedom. Because freedom is something that we all crave and desire, and so many of us are struggling to maintain our own freedom from this. It is impacting the freedom of individuals to make rational decisions about how they behave and how they interact. And we fight for them, and that's a huge fight. And I want you to know that if any of you are out here today, and I know that there are some of you, that we fight for you as much as we fight for the victims, as much as we fight for real love. And I love hearing the stories that come into our organization. Tens of thousands of stories coming in, some of which are talking about how they have reached and found freedom. Here's one that says, I've been able to express and receive love and joy and satisfaction in my daily interactions with far greater intensity while experiencing freedom from pornography. A lot of people kind of talk about this idea that like as they start to, and maybe some of you resonate with this, you've experienced this yourself, as you start to kind of distance yourself from pornography, oftentimes they describe it as having color re-enter your world, and your love is more intense and vibrant, and life is more intense and vibrant. And we fight for that. We fight for them, we fight for, and as well as those being victimized. We know more now than we've ever known. In fact, I was naive to this point when I started Fight the New Drug. I had no idea just how much this was impacting us on a societal level. How many individuals were forced against their wills into this area for the pleasure of our society. And we fight for them. We fight for them that don't have voices. And the stories that we could spend time sharing about that would make any one of us strengthen our commitment to make a change in this category. So we fight for real love, we fight for freedom, and we fight for those being victimized. And ultimately, we can wrap this up in a very simple way. And that is that we fight for love. That's been used many times throughout this conference. We fight for love. And love, not just romantic love, but love for friends, love for family members, love for experiences and hobbies and passions, and love for purpose. But ultimately, the thing that is impacted the most is that very core relationship that is most key to our happiness here on earth. And I think that when we look at this, ultimately what we're trying to do is change the conversation. And sometimes we can kind of hear all these stories and we think, wow, there is an army fighting with us, alongside us. How many of you have at least caught a glimpse of that today? That this is there's a far more support than you thought. Anybody get that? Yeah, let's raise it, yeah. How many of you have felt, and be honest, because I have felt that, sometimes you feel alone in this fight. Not only in your own struggle, in your own battle, but perhaps the larger societal fight, that you feel alone, that you feel that you are against the odds, that you are one little kind of cog in a massive machine that's going the opposite direction. Anybody ever felt that way? Yeah, I sure have. And I want to talk back to this momentum shift, because we conducted a survey with Americans across the United States, and they had no idea where the survey was coming from. We purchased the respondents. So this was a nationally representative base, and we found that a large portion of our larger society support the foundations of what this movement is built on. 95% of Americans are opposed to child pornography. I don't know who those 5% are, but at least 95% are opposed to child pornography. We are in the majority. 90% of Americans think access to minors is a problem, is a concern. 90%. We are in the majority. 79, nearly 80% of Americans think violent pornography, the kind that shows demeaning and aggressive, abusive scenarios, is a problem, is a concern. We're in the majority. And of course, here, 77% of Americans think that compulsive pornography use is a problem. So the very kind of core issues that we are fighting for or that we are concerned about, America agrees. Now, there are differences of opinion, of course. There are differences of opinion here in this room as to the details of how we should move forward, what is and is not directly a concern in certain situations, undoubtedly. But we are united with more than just what's here represented here today. Don talked about, the fact that this is not only a national movement, this is a global movement. And more people are using their influence, their voice to speak out. Individuals that have a lot of influence, celebrity status individuals like Terry Crews and Joseph Gordon-Levitt and many others who are kind of saying, you know what? And this didn't used to be the case. This is kind of starting to swell as more and more are saying, you know what, this is not okay. There are harmful effects. Research is not only proving it, but anecdotally we're seeing the stories kind of resonate, and we're seeing more and more come out. And yes, that is Russell Brand. And yes, that is Pamela Anderson. I don't know if you were aware, but both of those individuals have come out recently and expressed their concern about America's consumption of pornography. Pamela has been extremely vocal about how she thinks pornography is eroding our society. Two individuals that you would never expect to have stood up. And we have many others that have come out. Many others who were once in the industry that are kind of leaving the industry saying, you know what, this is a concern. So we are not alone. We are the majority. And as we combine the ever-growing database of research and combine that with a packaged messaging that resonates with the audiences we're trying to communicate with, we'll be able to mobilize a community and create a groundswell of knowledge, a groundswell of individuals moving in another direction. And therein lies the solution. And it's happening. It's occurring. There's a lot of work ahead, don't get me wrong. A lot of work. But we're seeing the army grow to help individuals recognize this challenge and move in a new direction. And I'm inspired by it. Again, I get to work alongside that every single day. Now, I've run out of time. I'm going to skip this video. But I want to conclude by just saying that these individuals I told their stories to kind of help you understand that they were just individuals just like us, and they can make a difference, not only in your own life, but in the lives of others. And this is one of my favorite quotes, and I'll conclude with this. I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And I will not let what I cannot do interfere with what I can do. Please join this larger movement. Organizations that are represented outside, organizations like Protect Young Minds, Educate and Empower Kids, the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, and so many more are out there, a part of this larger movement. Get involved. Find an organization that speaks with you, and if you don't find it, start it. Be a part of this. And if you're not ready to be an advocate, just know that we're here supporting your own fight and your own battle to overcome this in your own life or in your own family's life. And I'm inspired by all of you to be here, and it's kind of awesome to see so many here in our own community a part of this. And I'm grateful to fight alongside you. Thank you so much.